What's inside of you? Do you really know, and do you care? Most people are not aware of how their body actually works or what is actually inside of them. For the most part, people just take their body for granted and expect it to work correctly, all the time. But if you really knew what was inside of you, then you might wonder how we can exist at all, let alone work correctly. The human body is completely fascinating and amazing and worth knowing about in detail. The more you learn about the human body, the more it should make you believe that it could not have made itself by time and chance. Here are some amazing facts about the human body that you may not know, and that could also enlighten you in a way you never thought possible. First of all, our body either made itself or something or someone made it. It can be only one way or the other. Making it means design, materials, parts, the order of parts, construction, production, and continual operation. In other words, if the human body evolved over time, according to theoretical evolution, and had absolutely no maker and no designer, then that means it just happened by time and chance, and nothing more. The human body and its ability to work together on its own would be a lucky coincidental accident if evolution were true. But if you look closely at the inside of the human body and see the perfection and complexity of it all, if you still want to believe that it came into being all by itself without outside intelligent intervention and without a smart and powerful designer or maker, aka God, then you have more faith than I do. Did you know that we have approximately 36 trillion cells in our bodies? Yes, that's right. 36 trillion cells, which is much larger than a billion, which is much larger than a million. Red blood cells make up most of those cells, and that does not count everything else that's in your body. Your cells come and go during your lifetime, and the average body makes 2 million to 3 million red blood cells every second of every day. The human body actually maintains a precise balance of cells that die off and the cells that replace them. Where did that balance come from? Time and luck? There are also about 38 trillion bacteria in the human body. 1 trillion is 1 million million. Think about that. These human parts, no matter how small they may be, are organized and work in a specific way and are not random. How did they get that way? If you think those things are big numbers, how about this? Did you know that in each one of our cells, according to the experts, there are approximately 100 trillion atoms? That's in each cell. An adult human body is made up of 7 octillion atoms. If you don't know how much an octillion is, then if you start off with a million, then followed by a billion is 1,000 million, then comes a trillion, which is 1,000 billions, and after that comes a quadrillion, then a quintillion, then comes a sextillion. After that, you would get to a septillion, and then finally you would reach an octillion. So as an example, if a million is the number 1, then you would have to go up 7 more large numbers to number 8, which would be the octillion. That's how many atoms, 7 octillion, are in the human adult body. Atoms are obviously very small, but yet they are individual and countable to some degree. You have those atoms and cells in your body right now doing what they are supposed to do. Amazing. Here's another part of the human body that is fascinating, although the numbers are smaller. Did you know that the human ear cochlea has about 2,500 inner hair cells and about 12,000 outer hair cells when a person is born? Those cells have to do with how your ear hears. That's a lot of cells in a very small part of the body, and it's not counting everything else in the ear and in the body, such as having about 15 to 20 feet of intestines inside of you. We're not talking about 15 to 20 inches, but we are talking about the measurement in feet, and it all works all the time while you are alive, if you are healthy. How about the human tongue? We don't think much about our tongue because we don't see it often, since it is inside our mouth. But the tongue is an amazing piece of human technology. Normally, tongues are about 3 inches long and are a very complex part of the human body. A tongue is essential for taste, for speech, for eating, chewing, and swallowing, and for breathing. So it does a lot of very important, essential things, and some of them simultaneously. The tongue is made up of 8 individual muscles, while the upper skin surface of the tongue contains the taste buds. The average person has between 2,000 and 8,000 taste buds, although this number can vary. Taste buds cover the surface of small, nipple-like projections called papillae, which you can visually see on the tongue. Your taste buds last an average of 2 weeks and are automatically replaced. How does your body know how to do that? The digestion muscles in the tongue send chewed food into your esophagus, which is the food pipe in your throat, and then down into your stomach. The tongue does all these things without you having to think about it. How does your tongue know how to do these things? Did it learn it from a book, go to school, or watch other tongues to figure it out? The microvilli on the tongue are highly sensitive microscopic hairs that send messages to the brain about the taste of something. There are 5 different types of tastes which the human tongue can detect. These tastes include sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and savory or umami. All regions of the tongue respond to all 5 taste qualities, although there are some subtle regional differences in sensitivity for different taste qualities. But these differences do not play a clear role in taste perception. It is important to know that your brain needs to process what you are tasting with your tongue. Without this brain process, you couldn't taste anything. You could eat it, but you would not taste it. The tongue instantly sends out those taste messages to the brain, which is more amazing biological technology. With all this in mind, the human tongue needed to already be in place and ready to go in the first human being when it comes to a necessary body part for humans to exist. Without the tongue and the exact way it works, we would not be here. We could not eat or breathe properly. The human tongue could not have developed over long periods of time, such as millions of years, because humans and other living creatures needed the tongue to be completed in one piece, with all its parts and abilities exactly as they are, for humans to exist and function correctly. The tongue is an extremely complex little piece of the human anatomy technology, as it is in animals too. It involves interlacing muscles, nerves, and a blood supply to keep it going. But when you just look at it from the outside, you would never know that. The technology of this small tongue muscle in our body is absolutely astounding, and it should never be taken for granted. All of the parts of the tongue are in a specific order so that the tongue will work correctly. One more thing about the human tongue. Did you know that each human tongue has its own tongue print? Well, it does, just like fingerprints. A human tongue can be used to identify individual humans apart from all of the other 8 billion humans living on Earth. How could so-called evolution possibly know and remember what tongue prints are on all the other human tongues and be able to still give each living human a separate, unique tongue print with identifying marks? Those marks include color, shape, and surface features, even between identical twins. A very important question is, could such a small but powerful, well-designed, and important human feature in our bodies like a tongue just get here by accident over time and be unique in every human who has ever lived? Time and so-called evolution do not have a brain and they don't think. You need to have a lot of faith and wishful thinking to believe that. Design and perfectly complete functionality needs to have a single designer, a creator. The human body keeps on impressing. This next measurement in the human body is almost an impossibility, and yet we have them, the human blood vessels. Blood vessels are very tiny and they cover a lot of area. The smallest blood vessels measure just 5 micrometers. To offer some perspective on this measurement, a strand of human hair measures approximately 17 micrometers. If you took all the blood vessels out of an average child and laid them all out in one continuous line, that line would stretch for over 60,000 miles. An adult's blood vessels would be closer to 100,000 miles long, and that's all inside your body. Putting this distance into something that is easier to understand, the circumference of the Earth going completely around the Earth at the equator one time is 25,000 miles. If it was possible to put all of a human adult's arteries, capillaries, and veins together one after another, you would get 4 times the circumference of the Earth. Do you really think non-intelligent, with no brain, accidental theoretical evolution over time did all that? For us to exist, we would need all of our blood vessels to be formed and function correctly from the beginning to be as they are now for us to operate. We would not be alive and thrive without our blood vessels, veins, and arteries. When it comes to the adult human skeleton, it is made up of 206 individual bones all working together and in a specific order, which is pretty amazing as well. But we must also have a perfect nervous system in the body to bring it all together. As the old saying goes, you got a lot of nerve is very true. The four main functions of the nervous system are reception of general sensory information, which is touch, pressure, temperature, pain, and vibration. Receiving and perceiving special sensations, which is taste, smell, vision, and sounds. Integration of sensory information from different parts of the body and processing them, and finally response generation. There are about 7 trillion nerves in the human body, and they are the electrical system of your body that is the central control communication system. They send messages to and from places inside of you and up to the brain. Check out this impressive video above of the human nervous system, and don't be nervous about it. Without a perfectly built nervous system in human beings, we could not exist. Imagine walking into a fire and not feeling it, or sleeping outside in shorts and t-shirt in 0 degrees temperatures and not feeling it. Humans could not exist like that. Our nervous system is amazing. Another very important part of your body is your lungs, which generates oxygen to keep all your cells alive. There are almost 30,000 bronchioles in each lung, which are tiny tubes the thickness of a hair. Then there are small air sacs called alveoli, and they look like tiny bunches of grapes. There are approximately 600 million alveoli in your lungs. These human body parts show even more complexity. The small bubble shapes of the alveoli give your lungs a huge amount of surface area, which is equivalent to the size of a tennis court. This means there is more than enough room for the vital oxygen to pass into your body because of that surface area in your lungs. How did evolution know how to do that? How did evolution know how to make us so we could operate and live properly even before we were fully completed in living? We could go on and on with these fantastic numbers and measurements within the human body because there are certainly a lot more of them. We have not even covered what is in the heart, the eyes, the nose, and the organs of the human body yet, let alone the skin and muscles. The technology, construction, and production of the human body is incredible evidence of a creative force who designed and made it. There is a lot more in your body than you probably thought possible, and you are walking around day to day without ever thinking about it, assuming you are healthy. Your human body works perfectly day in and day out until it doesn't, and that day will eventually come for everyone. But until then, just consider yourself perfect technology if you have been relatively healthy to live on this earth as a human being. If any of your cells, brain neurons, blood vessels, lung bronchioles, or intestines were somehow placed in a different order, you would likely never have existed. Yes, science and medicine can intervene in some cases when there is something medically or physically wrong with you, depending what has malfunctioned in the body. Medicine and science can only fix so many deformed or malfunctioning babies when they are born along with adult people when they get sick or injured. Want to know more? Then please watch part 2 of our video series, What's Inside of You?